Good morning, America. I'm your host, Kendall.
And I'm the better one, Jemma.
Today on Traveling Through the Past, we will be traveling back to the Antebellum era, where tensions are rising between regions in America. If you didn't know, President Andrew Jackson implemented tariffs on the American imports and exports to protect our industries.
Unfortunately, America is divided between the North and South, and they're not happy about the taxes.
There is a great split between the North and South, and today we will learn more about the differences and similarities between them.
We're going to interview some people across America to get their viewpoints about life in the different regions pertaining to their occupation.
Let's get started!
And first, we'll be interviewing a farmer from the Old Northwest.
My name's Bill Boyd. I'm a farmer in Western Ohio. I've got a wife and 10 kids. I do most of the manual labor and my wife does the housework. And we moved out west from the north because there was too much industry and we needed farmland.
Okay, now sir, can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
What do you do for a living?
I work on the farm and we sell our products, such as if we grow stuff or if we sell sheep's milk, stuff like that.
All right. Now, what is life like as a farmer in the Old Northwest?
It's not too bad, but we don't get much support and we have to earn what we get. So sometimes we'll make a lot and sometimes we don't.
Okay. Now, what are your thoughts on the current political climate?
I don't really follow the politics, but when I lived up north, I voted for Andrew Jackson because he advocated for common men like me.
Gotcha. All right. Now, why did you migrate to the Old Northwest?
I migrated because there was too much industry in the north, and I needed land for my animals. And they favored the wealthy Easterners over people like me.
Okay. Now, how is your life different as a farmer?
As a farmer, we kind of have to work for what we get. In Western Ohio, there's a lot of game and fishing, and so we kind of have to do that ourselves. We can't just go buy it.
Yeah, all right. And then last question. What do you think about the rising industry in America, which is taking up the farmland?
I don't like it, but I think if it's controlled, then it's good. But I hope that they distribute the land equally.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome.
And next up, we'll be interviewing a 49er from the Gold Rush.
I'm George Dooley. I'm from Virginia, and I picked up my whole life from Virginia, and I moved west for a chance at striking rich in the gold rush. I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters. I have a wife and 2 kids, and hopefully more. And now I'm working at a mine in California to hopefully get some money for my family.
All right, sir. Can I ask you a few questions?
No. Yes.
Oh, okay. How was the journey coming out west?
Let me tell you, it was rough. I had to walk the whole way. All the wagons were for like other people. I obviously wasn't important enough for a wagon. I had to walk. There were hills. It was rainy. I cried a lot. It was rough.
That seems terrible.
It
now,
was.
why did you decide to move to the west?
Well, you see, my family isn't the wealthiest of sorts, so I needed some money, and I thought I could help out my family making it west. If I got some gold, I could really just help out and
Makes sense.
pay
Now,
my part.
Did you have to leave anything behind?
I did. I had to leave my wife and my children and my brothers and sisters and my mama.
Now, coming out west, how has your life changed?
Well, I feel like I've made something of myself. Before I was just no one, and now I feel like I'm someone, and I have great friends and support system, and my family I feel like likes me a little more now that I have money.
All right, now what is daily life like for you?
Well, I wake up every morning in a cabin with a lot of people around me. Most people sleep on the floor. I'm one of the ones that sleeps on the floor. Others sleep in wooden beds, mostly the older men, but we have a fire in our cabin-like area, and then we normally sit around, and then we wake up, and we eat, and we do our work, and then we come back, and then we sleep, and then we wake up, and we do our... It's a cycle.
Now, sir, if you don't mind me asking, how much gold have you collected?
Well, I haven't exactly made it out here in California, but I have made quite a few big ones, if I can say that. I have been able to send a lot of money back to my family, and written them a couple times and told them about how I'm making it out here, and it's just great. Like, I've made enough, not a lot, but enough to support my family and make it, you know.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, sir, for your time. It was really nice getting to know you.
What time is it?
Next up, we have a northern city dweller.
Hi, my name is Hiram Munger, and I grew up in Massachusetts, and I grew up over in Monson, but in recent years I've moved to Chicopee. I'm 49 years old. My family consists of 6 sisters and 4 brothers, and I got a mom and dad, and that's my life.
Okay, so Hiram, what is life like in the city?
I hate it. It's cramped. It's dirty. I don't like it.
Is your opinion on life in the city unique?
The factory owners, they love it. Everybody else, they pretty much don't like it that much.
What's your occupation?
I work in a textile mill, but I want to train to become like some sort of religious figure.
What's it like in the textile mill?
It's dangerous, I'd say. It's dirty. We have long work days, and I've seen people get their fingers cut off, their hair pulled out, they get scalped. It's not fun.
Would you ever consider moving out west?
I'd probably consider it if I were given the option. I heard it's pretty good out there. I heard the frontier's pretty amazing.
Okay. What is your political alignment?
I guess I'd say I'm more of a moderate progressive.
All right. Do you agree with slavery? Would you ever own slaves if you were given the opportunity?
I would probably. I probably wouldn't because it's not nice, but at the same time, like, they make me a lot of money, so I get rich quick and all that jazz. So I'd say, like, depending on what comes up in the next, like, election cycle and all, we'll see how that goes coming in the next year.
Okay. Thank you, Hiram.
Okay, so next up we're going to be interviewing an Irish immigrant. So, Aideen, what caused your family to come to America?
Well, the bad weather hit back home, and what happened was all of our crops were destroyed. There was this widespread sickness and starvation because all the potatoes, they were destroyed. It was a famine. And so everyone worked as fast as they could to get out of there, and we came as soon as we had the chance.
That's terrible. Now, how did you get here?
Well, there were 2 separate ways to go, basically. There were people coming in just straight to America, and then there were people coming from British North America, or it's called Canada, as I've been told now. And we came through Canada because it was cheaper, and we couldn't really afford to do anything else.
All right, now, what were your living conditions like?
Well, we arrived in New York, and once we got here, we had to live in a small apartment, and it was incredibly small, not what we were used to at all, but we didn't really have any other option, and it was okay because it was just me and my mother at that point. My sister had gone missing, and we tried to find her, but we didn't know where to look or anything. And my father was left back home. He left us in search for work, and we never reunited with him. And while we were in these apartments, there were other families on the floors as well, families of 5 or 6, and it was more devastating for them to be in such a small area just because they had more people to feed, and a lot of their younger children ended up getting sick and dying. We were even starving in America.
Now, with you being an Irish immigrant, did you face any kind of discrimination when you came?
Absolutely. People make derogatory remarks towards us constantly. It's everyone, basically these Americans, the native Americans, natural born citizens, they constantly criticize us, they blame us for their problems, we're like a scapegoat for them. And even when we're trying to get jobs, they have signs out front that say Irish need not apply, and we're illiterate, but we learn those words. I ended up getting a job as a domestic servant for a while, and the family that hosted me, even they made marks towards me, even though they were paying me. My mother ended up having to sell herself out just because that was the only job that we could even get at that point.
Now, why do you think this discrimination happened?
Like I said, the natural-born Americans here, they blame us, they call us scapegoats for their problems, especially because we're Catholic. Catholics in America are not treated like Protestants or others. We're blamed for everything that they don't have a cause to, really, and especially the temperance movement was horrible for us. They blame the Catholics for bringing in alcohol and the Irish for setting up pubs, and we're not trying to push anything or spread alcohol. We're just trying to live our lives here.
All right. And do you see anything in the near future for your well-being?
Well, I'm incredibly worried that I'm going to get deported. There have been a lot of people in our community, Irish women, Irish men, children, mostly Irish women though, who've been taken from their homes in the middle of the night, even one of our neighbors, and they get shipped off to Britain. And then I've heard that people in Britain, they get shipped back to Ireland, back where it all started. So there's no escape for us. And even if we do get stuck in Britain, the British don't like us. The English, they mistreat us. There's no escape for us. It's horrible one way or another when you're an Irish person.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. And next, we're going to be interviewing a free slave. Let's go interview him.
My name is Lee Williams, and I'm a free person color. I used to live in southeastern Georgia on a plantation farm run by my former master, but now I live in the north helping others. I still have family members living in the south. I have a brother and 2 sisters.
All right, Lee, can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
All right. What is a normal day living as a free slave?
Normal day living as a free slave is pretty rough and harsh because people treat you like a second citizen because you have no rights.
That seems terrible.
Yep.
All right. Now, what was it like escaping slavery from the South?
It was very dangerous. If I didn't escape, I would have been caught by my master and beaten to death.
Oh. All right. Now, what is your largest fear since being a free slave in the North?
My largest fear of being a free slave in the North is being sold back into slavery.
All right. What was your living conditions like, and why did you leave?
My living conditions were very harsh. You were starved, beaten, or whipped. The diet when you were a slave was really harsh. And then when sleeping, you had to sleep on the floor in a stinky house. And the reason why I left is because I wanted to be free and have better living conditions.
All right. Now, how do you feel about leaving your family behind in the South?
I feel really guilty because I just want them to come up here in the North and just be free with me.
What are your current political views?
My current political views is that African Americans and women should have the same rights as white males. And I feel like slavery should be abolished in both North and South.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we will be interviewing a Southern plantation owner.
Hi, my name is Zebediah Creekwater, and the only things that I love are God and my slaves. Now this right here, this is my working arm. And this right here, this is my dressing arm. Two very important things in my life. Now I was born and raised in southern Georgia, and I make all my money off of my tobacco plantation. Now I also think that my house is haunted because every night when I go to sleep, my wife is also asleep, and I wake up, everything in my house that wasn't clean before wasn't clean.
All right, Zebediah, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sure, why not?
All right, what forms of work do you mainly have your slave accomplish?
Slave. I'm proudly running 9 slaves in my plantation, and every day I make them work their butts off.
Now, how often do you use your slaves?
Every day, dusk from dawn, and if they ain't working, then they deserve a belt!
Okay. Now, describe how slaves are necessary for your family to effectively earn money.
Alright, it's quite simple, okay? So, I make my slaves work, right? And then they make tobacco, right? And then I sell the tobacco, and then that's it. It's much simpler than I thought.
All right. Now, what is your opinion on tariffs, and how do they affect you?
I hate tariffs so much. I just try to sell my tobacco, and people be like, you gotta pay for your tobacco that you're trying to sell, and that ain't cool.
All right. Now, what other sources of income do you have that might not rely as much on slavery?
I don't have any. That's why slaves are one of my 2 loves.
All right. And last question, what is your political opinion?
You see, this house is a proud Democratic house because Democrats, they support slavery and westward expansion. Now, westward expansion doesn't really affect me that much. Slaves do, and that's why I support them.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome. And where's that slave?
Get him, Jim! Get him!
Bow down to me!
Go get him, Jim!
What you say to me? What you say to me?
They're revolting. Jim, you're going. Oh, Jim, you're crazy.
And now we will be interviewing
A plantation owner's wife.
My name's Tabitha Creekwater. I was born in Georgia, southeastern Georgia, and I married my husband Zebediah when I was 16 years old, and I've been working on the tobacco plantation ever since. Get up. Sit down.
So, what do you do for a living, ma'am?
Well, I don't know. I really don't get outside a whole lot. I just sort of stay inside and, help clean around the house and raise the kids,
Mm-hmm. Are there any slaves that help in the home? And what do they do?
There's a few, but they don't really do a whole lot, and they're kind of useless, but
What other jobs do you have?
I don't really have another job. Zebediah's out on the fields all day, whipping those slaves, so, I don't know. I don't really do a whole lot besides, stay in the house.
How do you feel about women's rights?
Women's rights. Women's rights. I'll tell you what, they don't give us enough rights. I wish I could get out of the house sometimes, but Zebediah doesn't let me. And, yeah, basically that's it.
So, you said you have never had another job, but if you could have another job, what would it be?
Somewhere far away, somewhere not on a farm, maybe in a factory somewhere. I heard being really good up north.
What important rights do you think women should have?
They gotta let us vote. Those men are pigs. I'll tell you what, I need my rights, and I need them right now. I don't get any representation.
All right, thank you for your time, ma'am.
Sure, thanks.
Those interviews, they're just pretty wacky.
I know, she was so mean. Next up, we have a yeoman farmer from the south.
I'm Calvin Marshall. I'm from Sweet Home, Alabama. And on my farm, it's just me, my wife, and my 11 kids.
Okay, Calvin. What does your normal work day consist of for you and your family?
My normal work days, very long hours, very harsh labor. because I don't have any slaves since I'm so poor. Everyone gets out their work. We get a break around noon for lunch, and that's about it.
Have you ever considered purchasing a slave?
I have, but I just don't have the money. I have my necessities to consider, like taking care of my family. That's my top most important thing to do. And
Okay, how many acres of land do you own and what crops do you grow?
I have a very modest farm. It's roughly around 10 acres. I try to grow tobacco because it makes a good amount of money.
Nice. How has the new farming technology impacted your production or workday?
It has helped a lot. It makes things a lot easier. Production goes way up. For example, the steel plow works wonders for me.
That's great. How has the tariffs passed by Jackson affected you?
I hate them with born and passion because most of my stuff goes out to London, or some stuff I purchase goes out there, and prices just go way up.
What is your political opinion?
I would like to identify myself as a Republican, I believe, but that may be changed depending on what's happening around the world.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Last but not least, we will be interviewing a Creekwater slave.
Don't worry, I wasn't trying to escape. That's really hard here. Alright, whew. My name is Samuel Creekwater. I am a slave here on the Creekwater tobacco plantation. We're here in Georgia, I think. Yeah, that's about all I got. I don't get to say much.
How long have you been a slave, Samuel?
My whole life.
So you were born into slavery?
Yeah.
What does a typical day look like for you?
I wake up at sunrise, and then I eat my stale bread that I made, and then I go to work. And then I get a cup of water at noon, that's lunch. And then I work until the sun's all gone, and then I eat dinner. And normally that consists of some nasty soup stuff and more bread.
And how would you describe your working conditions?
Work sucks. Like, really sucks. If you don't work, you just get whipped.
What is your family life like?
I never really had a family. I got sold when I was, like, really little.
How does your master treat you?
Treats me really badly. Don't listen to what they say.
If you were set free right now, what would you do first?
I would praise the Lord and run to Canada.
Thank you for your time, Samuel.
Yeah.
Based on the interviews we just conducted, these are our results. In the North and the West, they were very anti-slavery, and tech and transportation shaped the economy. They were very industrial in the North and the West.
And then in the South, we have their pro-slavery, and then we have their agricultural economy being greatly improved. And then the similarities between each are they both progressed in terms of technology and transportation, and they both rapidly grew.
See you next time on Traveling Through the Past.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, sir, for your time. It was really nice getting to know you.
What time is
It is 10:54. Yeah.
it? What's that?
This is a iPhone right here. Look. What am I supposed to say?
Alright. My name is Zebediah Creekwater, and the only things that I love are God and my slaves. Now, I'm a proud Southern. Why do I keep doing that?
You were perfectly fine.
I embrace it.
Rob, be ready to film during lunch.
Southern during lunch? You're recording now or no?
Yes.
Oh,
Ava can cut it.
I was.
We'll get plenty of cuts and bloopers.
Yeah.
Bloopers.
Yeah!
I curse a lot. I
It's
curse
okay.
too much.
Harry rolled down the hill.
We're gonna have to bleep like every blooper.
Harry rolled down the hill. He was saying at the very end of it.
Tractor on the screen.
It's like an obnoxiously loud censored noise. But it's just like so obnoxious.
Hashtag would
Still
appreciate it.
recording.
Okay, let's keep going. Come on, come on, come on.
I was born and raised in
Nope,
Southern.
start over.
Oh, Zeb, you're crazy.
I know.
I think we should keep that silencio.
Hey, what y'all doing?
Okay, I think we can just keep that in. It's fine.
Wait, what time is it?
You're crazy.
Alright. Was that already 45 minutes?
No.
We
They had
still have like 15.
15.
Do I need to be in camera now?
We have 15.
No, you're good. We're just gonna do Milo's ending.
Oh, okay.
Don't you think?
Yes.
So next up we have a farmer from the old Northwest.
Let's go.
Oh, these are stairs. I just about. No, this isn't working. Okay.
Now, do we have to do one over here?
Bow down to me!